All right, having some technical difficulties here tonight. Good evening. It's Thursday night and it is 8 o'clock. Welcome to the Living in Jacksonville channel. And this is our last live of the year. And of course, what better way to wrap up the last live on the channel than talking about 2024 and what 2025 is going to look like in real estate. And of course, I know a lot of you are probably getting ready for the holidays, getting ready for gift giving, families, trips, everything. If you're watching tonight, make sure you go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching from. What's your plans for the holidays? Everybody wants to know what you're doing. We are interested because some of us are not doing anything, not going anywhere, so we can live vicariously through you. Some of us don't want to go anywhere, actually. But we'd love to know where you're watching from and what your plans are over the holidays as I prepare for quite a show tonight to discuss kind of where we've been this year, real estate wise, and where we see 2025 going, because it's been such a roller coaster of a year real estate wise. I mean, it literally has been ups and downs with interest rates, with the elections, so many things going on. It was a rough year for some and a good year for others, but depending on where you were on the spectrum, again, I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching, put it in the comments. Even if you're watching this as a recording, put in your comments. Let us know how your year's been, where you're watching from, and if it's been a good year or not. I have to say it's been a massive year of growth for me personally, as well as expanding our team, the Living in Jacksonville team. So it has been a heck of a year. And I think it's all attributed to this channel. So those of you that are watching and recording, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Genuinely, those of you that are dedicated to the channel and see the value that I've been bringing as far as real estate, lifestyle that Jacksonville and the suburbs have to offer. I appreciate you watching. And of course, naturally, for those of you called and that I've been able to develop relationships with you, finding a home and relocating to the area has been an honor and a pleasure. And I appreciate you. And I've really developed some amazing relationships from this channel and sharing the goodwill of lifestyle here in Jacksonville and the opportunities in new construction, especially compared to the rest of Florida. Moving up here to Northeast Florida from South Florida years ago, we've never looked back, and we feel like we were really ahead of the curve. So it has been a wonderful year, and we are truly grateful. So again, if you're watching, put in the comments where you're watching from, and I'm going to start off sharing screen. Some very interesting news came in from the National Association of Realtors. Some surprising news, maybe not. I think I felt like the real estate market really slowed down around September, October, November, which is normal. Usually anyway, people are going back to school. It's the fall, but this year even more so because it was an election year. If you've watched previous videos, I've done really in-depth studies of how the elections affect the market. And certainly this was no exception, as people were waiting cautiously to find out the results of the election. And then boom, we had the elections and the stock market shot up the next day 1,000 points. And then we did see a major uptick, not a major, but a pretty gradual bump in the real estate market for sure. A lot of people came out of the sidelines, especially in certain locations of Northeast Florida. Again, this market has remained hyper local focused. And because we have so much new construction here, there was a lot of incentives and opportunities as builders were trying to make up for those numbers for the lull that was extra slower than usual because of the elections in September, October, and then of course in November. So that kind of leads a good segue into this article that I'm going to share. Let's see if I can get this correct here. Very interesting article came today, surprising on November. So let's go ahead and see if I can find that, share the right screen. All right, so this is the article I want to share. Yes. Existing home sales elevated 4.8% in November. Okay. And that is after the elections. Post strongest year over year increase since June 2021. Key highlights: existing home sales ascended 4.8% in November to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.15 million, the swiftest pace since March. 4.22 million, accelerated 6.1% from 1 year ago, the largest year over year gain since June of 2021. So we're about to wrap up 2024. So quite a large jump here in November of 2024. Median existing home sales price rose 4.7 from November 2023 to 406,000, the 17th consecutive month year over year price increases. The inventory of unsold existing homes slipped 2.9 from the prior month to 1.33 million at the end of November, or the equivalent of 3.8 months supply at the current monthly sales pace. So a balanced market in real estate is usually 6-7 months. That's when we start getting into after that, we start getting into a buyer's market. And I say officially, I think here in Northeast Florida, we are certainly in a buyer's market. That is no secret, as I'm going to show you tonight from the stats that we have growing inventory. Homes are sitting on the market longer, especially resales. And if you're competing against new construction, even more difficult, because like I said, builders are offering massive incentives to make up their numbers from pre-elections. Usually, again, September, October, slower, but even more so this year because it was pre-election year. So again, very interesting article. Really it kind of supports my comment I made on social media the other day that after the election, we felt really the market's starting to heat up for sure, especially here in Northeast Florida and my particular area of Nocatee, one of the most popular master plan communities in Northeast Florida. We're coming to the end of development, so great incentives in St. Johns County in general, and some specific areas in Jacksonville and Duval County as well. All right, so let's get into some really good topics tonight. We're gonna go ahead and kind of talk about the negativity that you will hear. If you look at other YouTube channels or you listen to the media, there's that clickbait article that you always see or video, and it's usually like the market going up in flames. And I always get that, and it's okay to it's okay to talk about the potential of a market crashing, because essentially anything can happen that would cause a crash in the market. But of course, there's a lot of data out there that just doesn't indicate that. So for all the people that are waiting on the sidelines, that are still renting, or they're still waiting to determine to downsize or upsize, of course, they're locked into an amazing mortgage rate back when it was 2.93%. They're waiting for that crash. And I just don't know if the data supports that's coming. So let's go ahead and let me share my next screen here. I did actually prepare tonight pretty well, so there's going to be some really interesting data. If you're data centric, this is going to be the video for you tonight. I'm not just talking about it, I'm showing you the data to support what I'm going to talk about here. So let's go ahead and do I prepared a slide deck for those people that love that kind of stuff. That's not normally my kind of thing, but let's go ahead and see if I can get this to work first and foremost. Hold on here, bear with me. Of course, too many monitors and screens, but let me see here. No, that's not working. Excuse my technical difficulties. Let's see, share. Present. Slides and PDFs. There we go. Oh, I want to do it from the beginning. So let's start from the beginning here. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. With the recent house price increases, some people are worried about a new housing bubble, but mortgage debt isn't a concern and lending standards are much better now than during the bubble. Bill McBride, housing analyst, calculated risks. So big thing that people are talking about is, of course, not only the deficit in government spending, but of course, here we're showing consumer debt at record levels. Okay. So this is the New York Fed as a source here. It shows here from all the way through Q3 of 2024, from back in Q1 of 2003. We're seeing consumer debt, that is all us as people, all have major debt growing. And as you can see here, we're looking at $18 trillion of debt. Okay, and majority of that debt, if you can see here in yellow, that is mortgage debt, right? And that is the majority of consumer debt. Now, of course, we got a little credit card debt here. We got some auto loan debt. Student loans looks pretty big. And then we have other debt. So as you can see here, it's been continuously growing from 2003 all the way to 2024, and we're looking at 18 trillion of consumer debt, record level. So crazy stuff that would support someone that was saying we're going to go bankrupt and the real estate market's going to crash. But here's the thing: home equity is outpacing mortgage debt. So our biggest debt is mortgage debt, right? And majority of that debt, 13 trillion dollars of debt is mortgage debt out of that 18 trillion that I showed you, right? That's home mortgage debt. But wait a minute, let's look at the home equity. Even though us as consumers are carrying $13 trillion in consumer debt because of our mortgages, the equity that people have in their homes right now is actually at $35 trillion. So what's that saying is that the average American is actually carrying about an average of $319,000 of equity in their home. And according to ICE Mortgage Monitor report, 207,000 of that could be borrowed against while still maintaining 20% equity cushion. So the equity growth over the years, specifically in 2021 and 2022, was massive. We were seeing growth in certain areas between 22 and 33%, which is absolutely crazy, right? But now we're starting to see moderation. But if you have all that equity in a home and you own a home and you have debt, you have options. So for a homeowner in the early stages of foreclosure, that equity helps them avoid foreclosure sale, either by leveraging the equity to pay down past due mortgage bills, or by selling their property in order to protect the equity they otherwise lose at the auction. Rick Sharga, founder, CEO, CJ Patrick Company. So basically you're saying, look, everybody has equity in their homes more than usual. So if they are having debt, all they need to do is sell their home and pay off the debt. Serious mortgage delinquency rates remain low. So here we go. This graph shows percent of mortgage balance 90 plus days of delinquency through Q3 of 2024. So again, it starts in Q3 of 2003. as you can see here on the graph, I want to make sure you guys can see this. Let me double check this is working. Yes. So as you can see here on Q3 of 2009, we had the largest mortgage delinquency in history because of mortgage-backed securities. People were getting loans by making up numbers of their salary. And so the banks started going into debt, and that's back in 2009, 2010. And of course, people were walking away from mortgages, and we had the massive crash. So that was 2009, 2010, it peaked, and then it continues to go down here all the way lower to percentage points, just under 1% of delinquency, mortgage delinquencies that are 90 days plus. So again, it's showing indicators that we're not really seeing major delinquencies. And if people are in financial trouble and they own a home, they can sell it and tap into that equity. So in October 2024, the U.S. housing market experienced slight uptick in foreclosure activity with 30,784 properties filing for foreclosure. This is nationally, marking a 4% increase from the previous month, but an 11% decrease from year over year. This nuanced trend shows foreclosure levels remain relatively low despite monthly rises. So U.S. foreclosure activity decreases in Q3 2024. It basically shows here, again, 2010 was the peak. We're looking at over 500,000, almost 600,000 mortgage delinquents, foreclosures. And then, of course, during the COVID years, 2021, 2022, we had the foreclosure moratorium. And then you see we expected everybody to go into foreclosure after COVID. But in reality here, we maintained pretty steady well under 100,000 foreclosures in the U.S. and still remaining low here in Q3 of 2024. So again, for the naysayers out there that are waiting for a bust or foreclosures, it does not show like it's coming yet based on the data. One thing that has happened though, days on market has risen since 2021. Median days on the market, October of each year. So right here, we're looking at 2021. We've seen days on market around 43 days on market. And this is really important because there are so many listings right now that are sitting on the market, and days on market is longer and longer. And again, this is very, this is general because the real estate market is definitely hyper local. But in this case, 2021, we're seeing 43 days in the market, 2022, 50 days on the market, 2023, again, 50 days on the market. And here in 2024, we're seeing almost 60 days on the market. So we're seeing days on market has risen. Okay, so for people looking to sell their home, this is really important data to know and understand. So inventory has risen since 2021. Again, I think this is a good thing. Our market has been on full steam since COVID. Well, I'll show you here in the graphs in a minute. You'll see that in 2022, we certainly peaked, but inventory started rising from 2021. You see here 565,000 homes. 752,000, 738. So not a huge differentiation between 2022 and 23, and then a massive spike and jump in 2024, which is good. Specifically in our area here in St. Johns County, we've really been lacking in inventory a long time, and I would suspect these numbers are even a little bit larger because we have the opportunity of new construction, and not all new construction is recorded in this data. This is data from realtor.com. Okay, let's continue on here because I don't want to run over tonight. I got a lot of information. Slide. Existing home sales are down. Seasonally adjusted annual rate of existing home sales since 2021. Again, we're seeing home sales dip. Again, because if you look 2020, the peak of 2021 here and the peak of 2022, over 6.5 million homes sold across the US, and it's dipped down all the way to 4.5 in 2023, and then a little gradual bump here in 2024, but we're sitting around 4 million according to NAR. But of course, in November, as I started this video tonight, you noticed that we had a massive jump since 2021. So will that keep going up? That's the question, right? Let's talk about that a little bit more. The housing market is short about 3 million homes. Okay. So what this is saying is that all these organizations, including the National Association of Realtors, Zillow, Freddie Mac, National Home Builders, all of them are saying that our housing market is short 1.5 million homes. Freddie Mac says we're short 1.5 million homes. Zillow is saying we're short 4.5 million homes. National Association of Realtors says we're short 5.5 million homes. Okay, so the average of all six is saying that our housing market here in America is 3 million homes short. That's saying our population, there is a lot of people that are renting that cannot afford homes. There's people waiting on the sidelines, but we have an overall shortage of homes. So again, our data is showing, for those naysayers out there, that we're not running into a foreclosure market. It's saying that our sales and inventory is pretty normal. And now it's saying also that we have, based on our population studies, that we have a shortage of homes here in America, meaning we have pent up demand. Okay. So for those of you out there saying, oh, there's so many incentives out there and builders are not doing well. Well, builders are still building, specifically here in Northeast Florida. We have massive development going on and a lot of development in the pipeline. So I want to tell you straight up that on the data, this is a Census Bureau data, they're saying that builders aren't overbuilding. They're trying to catch up. So these are based on single family housing units completed in the thousands. And as you can see here, 2005 was when we had massive growth in development. And of course, we had the crash because of the mortgage-backed security. And because of that crash, we had a massive shortage of underbuilding from 2007, 8, 9, and 10 all the way through, growing back up here in 2020, 21, 22, and 23. So 15 years of underbuilding because of what happened back in 2005, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So let's continue on here. What's causing the housing shortage? Okay, so number one, the underproduction of homes. For years, the industry hasn't built enough homes to keep up with demand. As Zillow explains, in 2022, 1.4 million homes were built at that time, the best year for home construction since the early stages of the Great Recession. However, the number of U.S. families increased by 1.8 million that year, meaning the country did not even build enough to make a place for new families, let alone begin chipping away at the deficit that has hampered housing affordability for more than a decade. Okay, so I mean, we're talking 2008, 9, and 10 was the last crash, and here we are in 2024, and we have a shortage now because of that. Rising costs. Now, this is a big one. Building materials, labor shortages, and supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic have also made it harder and more expensive to build homes. This can either limit or stop new construction in some areas. Okay, that's why I said it's very hyper local, the real estate market. And then finally, number three, regional imbalances. Some markets are more affected by the shortage of homes than others. Popular and more desirable areas have more people moving in faster than new homes can be built. The number of new building permits issued doesn't always keep pace with job growth in these regions, and that leads to even tighter markets and higher prices. So, for example, here in Northeast Florida in St. Johns County, we have a great demand, but we're having issues, I think, with specifically in St. Johns County, we are having issues not with keeping up with development, but more so we're having growth issues. We're growing too fast at a fast pace. And so this is where schools, infrastructure, roads, commercial has to catch up. And so that is some of the problems that we're having here. But our area is hot. Like Jacksonville has the most job opportunity and has the lowest rate of unemployment in the US. It's below the national average. So this is where we're seeing that causing the housing shortage here in America. And again, at the end of this, I'm going to show you guys where everybody's moving from and why this area is still having a ton of migration. Okay, so let's talk about 2025. Dare I go there? All right, let's go ahead. I don't expect to see any meaningful increase in the supply of existing homes for sale until mortgage rates are back down in the low 5% range. Rig Sharga, founder and CEO of CJ Patrick Company. All right, so we're going to get into mortgage rates here in a minute, but I don't see 5% in 2025. I would like to, but the problem is if we see rates go down to 5%, my fear is that the market will blow up again, because if we have so much pent up demand, it's going to change it again from a balanced or a buyer's market back to a seller's market. And we've already seen our pricing increase at too fast of a rate already. So I just don't think that's necessary for our market particularly. Of course, I'd like to see lower interest rates, but do I think it's going to happen? Well, let's take a look here. Mortgage rate projections, 30-year fixed rate as of 12/4/2024. Okay, so Fannie Mae, MBA, Wells Fargo, and the average of all three. So all these massive organizations are making their predictions for interest rates. And as you see here in 2024, Q4, Fannie Mae predicted 6.6, MBA 6.6, Wells Fargo 6.8. Average all three is 6.675 or 6.67, which is kind of where we are today. Q1 of 2025, for those of you who are hoping rates are going to continue to go down, I don't see a major difference here. We're 6.5, 6.6, and then the average of all three is 6.58. Q2, and I've been saying this to people, I don't see a major drop in rates. I see a gradual decrease in interest rates, but nobody has a crystal ball. Anything can happen. There's three things that affect your interest rates, so hang on here. So Q3, we're hoping to see our rates go down to 6.3. Q4 still hovering around 6.33 based on the average of these three projections. Okay. So key factors that impact future mortgage rates, right? That's why we say we don't have a crystal ball, but these are the three factors. And I think a lot of it here you're going to see in number 3. But number 1 is inflation. If inflation cools, rates could dip a bit more. On the flip side, if inflation rises or remains stubbornly high, rates may stay elevated longer, okay? Unemployment rate. The unemployment rate also has to play a significant role in upcoming decisions by the Federal Reserve. And while the Fed doesn't set mortgage rates, their actions do reflect what's happening in the greater economy, which can have an impact, right? And then government policies. With the next administration to take office in January, fiscal and monetary policies could also affect how financial markets respond and where rates go from here. So, of course, with the new administration, immigration is going to may affect our labor issues that we already have in this country. We may have more labor shortages, so the cost of labor is going to go up. And then, of course, you add taxes, import taxes, and imports. That's going to affect the cost of goods as well. And this is all going to affect housing because we rely on labor to build these homes so quickly. And of course, we we also depend on the resources of imported goods to build our homes. So this is a big thing right here that's going to be really interesting to see when the new administration takes over in the new year. Mortgage rates and projections. Again, here's another graph just showing since 2008. We saw rates as low as 2018, sorry. In Q1 of 2018, we saw rates in 4%, then just over 4.5% in Q4 2018. And then rates dropped down significantly in 2020, 21, 2021, right before 22 is when it started crawling up. But those are those rates there around 3.5%. And that's why people are not wanting to sell right now, because just like myself, we're all locked in at 3%. It's going to take a lot of things to happen in life for us to want to move. And then boom, at 2022, 23, we saw rates go as high as 6.5%, where we are now. And then, of course, in Q4 of 2023, we saw rates go over 7%. And now they're coming down gradually, and I think we're going to see them leveling off this year in the sixes. But that's what it looks like from 2018. Major dip in 21, 22, and then it started going up. All right, let's keep it moving here. So lower mortgage rates are expected to boost the housing market, but the lift will be modest given continued tightness in the existing inventory and home buyers staying on the sidelines, expecting further rate declines. So those of you who are waiting on the sidelines, it's going to be a little while if you're looking to get below the sixes, but there is so much new construction incentives. Today we were looking at a client that basically was trying to buy down the rate with incentives to, believe it or not, below 5%, which is crazy. And that is 30-year fixed. That's not a 2-1 buy down. So just to give you an idea, depending on the builder, what kind of incentives. And people always call me immediately after these videos, oh, where are those incentives? Where are those incentives? Now, those incentives that are that deep, those are huge, massive builders, track builders. So there is definitely, it depends on the community, depends on the builder. So if you're looking for an amazing house in a top area, builders don't need to offer that kind of incentive where there's tons of inventory, like such as in Nocatee, for instance. But there are some neighborhoods in World Golf Village and Rivertown that, depending on the time of year, they will have a major pot. National builders will have a major pot to put money in towards buying people's rates down, which make it more attractive to buy a new construction home and get locked in a 30-year fixed rate at below 5%, because they bought down the rate for you with incentives, which is incredible. And that's why it's so hard for resales. And we'll get into that a little bit too about resales. So 2025 home price forecast, okay. Again, because we've seen such massive growth in home prices over the years, 20, 30%. Normal growth year to year, equity or growth in pricing valuations of homes is supposed to be between 2 and 3%. It's not normal to have 22, 23, 30%, 33% in some areas, what we've seen in the past. But now, as you can see here, from all the banks here and institutions, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs, all of them have been stating anywhere between 0.6% growth this year in 2025, all the way up to 5.5% growth, depending on the area, an average of 3% growth, which is normal, it's healthy, and that's a good thing. Home price growth is moderating year over year change in home prices. So again, I like this graph because it really shows you the massive growth you saw. This is January of 2022. We saw just under 20% growth in home pricing. Continued to grow in February of 22, March it peaked. So again, if you bought a home in March of January 22 or April 22 or May 22, or even pulled the trigger on a new construction home and it wasn't ready for 9 to 12 months, you were purchasing at the peak of house growth, right? And then if you bought in May of 2023, where you see it's red here, there was a deficit in pricing. Then you probably, if you were fortunate enough, you probably got to take advantage as a buyer in some really good deals. Now, again, we see it growing in January 2024. The market's getting healthy. We're getting more inventory. January 24, February, March, April, May, June, July. And then August, as you can see here, this is reporting as of August in 2024. You see it dipping, and it probably, you'll see October and September, October, November, September, October, you'll see it grow down even lower. Once they report the numbers, you'll see it dip down even lower. And then November, it jumped up, as I reported in the beginning of this video. So these graphs are very accurate in what's going on with the market. I can contest to that. All right. Total home sales forecast to rise in the millions. Okay. So in 2019, we were across the United States, we saw 6 million homes being sold. In 2020, we saw 6.5 million. In 21, we saw 6.9 million. Again, 21, 22 is where we saw the most homes sold. And again, if you bought then, that would be the peak of the market. And then in 2022, 23, we started dropping. And right now, 2023, we had 4.8 million. And then 2024, we're seeing at 4.6 million homes sold. So between 2019 and 2025, we've seen a significant drop in total home sales in the millions across the United States. But still a healthy number, 4 million, right? Projected for 2025, we're looking to go back up to 5.1 million homes sold. And these are sources based on census, Fannie Mae, MBA, and NAR, National Association of Realtors. So again, for those of you who are waiting on the sidelines, we do believe that we're going to see a very robust, healthy spring market. Specifically in certain markets here in where I am in St. Johns County, suburb of Jacksonville. So looking ahead to 2025, my baseline expectation is that single-family home construction is poised to steadily increase, bolstered by modest declines in financing costs for builders and buyers, and by the scarcity of existing homes due to the mortgage rate lock-in effect, which is basically saying all the folks that are locked in at 3% not wanting to move. But that's by Odeda Kushi, Deputy Chief Economist of First American. All right. So people always ask where are people moving from, and I found this information online, and I have to say it was very accurate based on all. We are certainly a big, me and my small team, but it's mostly me and a few others. We have relocated, had the most amazing year in 2024. We've seen at least just over 30% growth from last year, and we've been growing tremendously. And again, I give you all gratitude and thanks to those of you watching. But where are people moving from? And we specialize a hell of a lot in relocation because of this channel. We also specialize in new construction and all those incentives, and the area that we serve has certainly been a contribution to all that. But where's everybody moving from, right? So this is by percentage points. So people moving specifically to Jacksonville, Florida. Florida is still a big migration state. I think Florida is #1 in growth, followed by Texas, and I forget what #3 was. But believe it or not, we're seeing a lot of growth. About 15% of our migration to Jacksonville is from the Atlanta area, which I can tell you we've had a lot of folks that we've served from suburbs of Atlanta, and still some that are in the suburbs that are trying to sell their home and move here. We've had a lot of migration from Orlando, Florida, and that is because Orlando has had massive growth in the last 2-3 years. and Orlando has become more expensive than Jacksonville to live. And I'll get into that a little bit. We have a lot of relocation from South Florida, Miami as well. Again, you'll see that around the 10% mark. A lot of people have found that Miami has become, I'm from South Florida, so a lot of people from Miami are saying it's getting very, very expensive since COVID. It's also become very overcrowded. And then, of course, they're susceptible to hurricanes and the cost of insurance and living, home insurance in general in South Florida, in the west coast of Florida, the Gulf of Mexico side of Florida. Insurance has gotten outrageous because of all the hurricanes. So we're seeing a lot of growth from Miami. And then here you see Tampa. Again, Tampa area, because it's on the Gulf. Tampa is actually, they kind of oversold a little bit. We've seen a lot of price corrections in the Tampa area. And because of all the hurricanes and surges from the storms, insurance has gotten outrageous. So we're now getting a lot of calls from the Tampa region as well to relocate here. So we're not just moving people from out of state, we're actually getting a lot of people within Florida because Jacksonville has such a robust job market and so much opportunity. People are coming here from all parts of Florida as well. Our home insurance is incredible considering where we live and close to the beach and everything. It's incredible. New York City, we're of course seeing just under 10%, 8%. And people think that, specifically in area, everybody's moving from New York. It seems like it, but it's not just New York. It's from all over. And then finally, Charlotte, North Carolina. I was surprised by this one. Us personally, we've had people from the Carolinas, but not particularly Charlotte. If I'm missing somebody, I apologize in advance. If you're from Charlotte, remind me, put in the comments. Forgive me. I don't know where you all come, every single person, what city you come from, but if you came from Charlotte and I served you, forgive me, I don't remember. Chicago, Illinois, 100%. A lot of people moving from Chicago. DC area, yep, definitely. Los Angeles, for sure. Had a couple people just recently as well relocate from Los Angeles for obvious reasons. And then Boston, Massachusetts. Actually just had a couple from Maine as well. So that is quite a variety of locations of where people are moving from. So it's not just New York and New Jersey. For those of you who are saying that, no, it's not. What I just do here. All right. And migration is driven to Jacksonville because of affordability. We're one of the most affordable places to live in the state of Florida. That is a major city. Job opportunities, lower costs of living compared to the other major cities, especially in Florida as well. And the appeal as a family-friendly location with high quality of life. So especially in the suburbs here like St. Johns County. All right, let me get out of this here. I hope that you guys enjoyed that information. Took a little while to curate it, but if you have any comments, please go ahead. Let's see here. What do I have? Brad G here watching from Palm Desert, California. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for watching. We were in Palm Springs for Thanksgiving, and it was pretty killer out there. We had a good time. So we went to Joshua Tree Park. I also did a little business, met with my coach out there, but man, pretty cool place. I don't know why you would move here or why you're watching, but that'd be interesting to find out why. We've got Brian Hurst listening and taking a walk in Nocatee. Thanks for the info all year. You're absolutely welcome, my friend. Thank you for watching. You're a neighbor, and we're certainly living in privileged to live in one of the coolest master plan communities in the country, but not everyone would agree with that. So I'm not going to be that bold. I'm going to say it's not for everybody, but it's pretty amazing. So thanks for joining us, Brian. Glad I can be of value. Love hearing that, especially to my neighbors here in Nocatee. I love living here and I love serving you people. So that's pretty cool. What else I got here? Let's go ahead and check out some markets. If you guys have any questions, that you have based on the data I shared with you, specific questions for the area. I'm in the trenches, and I deal with a lot of new construction. So I'm an open book tonight, people. I'm going to be not coming on next week. I won't be back till next year. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them as best as I can. So this is your opportunity. Let's see, what else do I have here? Let's read some articles about housing market predictions. Let's not just take it from me. Let's look at some of these other exciting ones here. All right, share screen again. Oh, only 15 minutes and that's it. Pricing on one story versus two. Okay, hold on here. I just got a question. Pricing on one story versus two-story per square foot. Okay, so maybe I need to be a little clearer. It depends on where you're talking about as far as pricing per square foot. Like, where would you be asking that question? Or are you asking, is there a difference in pricing per square foot? It's a good question, actually. I really don't think there's a huge variation between if you have a one-story house or two-story house, price per square foot. It should be, because the reality is it's more square footage you have on a single-story ranch is more expensive because it takes a bigger lot, and it's a more expensive build than if just doubling up and adding square footage on the second floor. So great question. I don't see a massive variation on between one story and two story. It's pretty much the same. I hope that answers your question. If you want to get a little more specific or granular on that, I'll be more than glad to answer that. But no, I don't see a big difference between one and two stories, to be honest with you. But it's harder to find more square footage single stories, and they are very expensive. So I don't know, maybe that does answer your question. Yeah, maybe a ranch. Yeah, if you want more square footage in a ranch, you're going to pay more. So you're probably right. More square footage. Interesting. I like that question, though. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other questions here as I move on to the article? Share screen again. Yes, that answers it. Good. Okay, I'm glad. Let's see. This is a good article. Can you guys see that? All right. Mortgage reports, housing market predictions. Will home prices drop in 2025? It's been a noteworthy one for the national real estate market. Although mortgage rates have dipped since 2023, high home prices and continued low inventory have kept many potential buyers on the sidelines. With holiday season upon us and the calendar about to turn the page to a fresh year, it's a fitting time to assess the current landscape and consider what the future might hold for home buyers. Key questions linger. Will the prices drop in 2025? Is now a smart time to buy a home? When will mortgage rates and the housing supply numbers improve? We consulted the industry experts. I like hearing from these people because it gives me a lot of different viewpoints to look at here. Okay, so Rick Sharga, President and CEO of CJ Patrick Company. The housing market isn't particularly pretty right now. We're likely to end the year with fewer existing home sales for the third consecutive year, falling from 6 million in 2021 to 5 million in 2024 to 4 million in 2023, and somewhere around 3.8 million this year, which will be the lowest number of homes sold since 1995. Again, my numbers showed over 4 million this year, so there's a little contradictory there. Affordability is the worst it's been in the last 40 years. I agree wholeheartedly for that. It breaks my heart that home affordability has been so low. And the catch to that is that there are lower tier builders that are making it more affordable to be a homeowner, but the quality of the builds, you're sacrificing, you get what you pay for. So there's a catch-22 there as far as affordability, but it breaks my heart that it is so expensive to purchase a 2,400 square foot home in a good area. Kenan Chen, Executive Vice President, Strategy and Growth, Clear Capital. Current national housing market continues to slowly improve, but it's marked by now familiar challenges of limited supply and home price increases. The amount of housing supply has steadily improved since January. It's finally reached levels we saw in 2020. We remain well below pre-pandemic inventory numbers, which contributes to home price appreciation remaining at 4.7% year over year. Not quite. I mean, we saw an average of 3%, a little bit over 3%. Expecting that purchase demand will continue to grow and mortgage rates will gradually decline over the next year. We can expect home prices to continue to increase without substantial change in supply. Again, we're a little bit of an anomaly here in our area in Northeast Florida because we do have a decent supply here in Northeast Florida compared to the rest of Florida and compared to most of the United States. So we may not see that massive growth at 4.7% appreciation. We've kind of plateaued here, and specifically in St. Johns County. So I don't see that. As a matter of fact, people that paid the peak in 2022, some of those people, life happens, are calling me up and they're trying to sell their home. And I'm going to get to that a little bit at the end here. If you're trying to sell your home or you're going to sell your home, stay on this call because I'm going to tell you some vital information. Okay. But the current conditions are characterized by a slowdown in sales, with houses remaining in the market for longer today than a year ago. Housing prices remain elevated with marginal decline, 0.7% compared to last year. Supply is still constrained, but improving in some parts of the country. Factors have contributed to above conditions, including affordability, and housing prices have increased rapidly in the last 3 years, while incomes have not adjusted to inflation and elevated, albeit slowly declining, interest rates. Realtor and real estate attorney, it's too early to tell. I kind of like this comment, actually. I read this earlier. It's too early to tell where the market will head in 2025. The primary uncertainty is whether President-elect Trump will follow through on the promise of mass deportations and stiff tariffs. I talked about this earlier. While these policies will impact all of the country, some will be more impacted than others. A rare circumstance of Republicans controlling the House, Senate, and presidency promises more favorable tax treatment for real estate, perhaps the elimination of the capital gains tax on the sale of personal residence, elimination or reduction of capital gains tax for investor sales to owner-occupant buyers. We're talking about bonus depreciation here, people, for my investors out there that are sophisticated. Bonus depreciation, yes. This would influence the supply and affordability of homes. So I like that. It's a very good, I think that's a very good comment there. It's too early to tell where the market will head. This president will, in the current administration, is really going to determine that. But I think the current president is a big real estate guy, so I'm thinking it will be beneficial, but I don't know. With these deportation, labor laws, immigration, import taxes, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. But it's going to also be slow. He's not just going to come in and start changing things right away. So it's going to be a slow progression. Interest rates are starting to edge down, which is certainly a good sign, but home prices are still quite high. There just isn't enough inventory, especially in the lower end of the market, for those prices to come down anytime soon. Construction is picking up, but primarily for luxury homes and apartments. More affordable homes just aren't profitable to build, and any that do hit the market are likely to be snapped up by investors. This is true. This is true. We're continuing seeing higher mortgage rates compared to this time 2 years ago. It's keeping many home buyers from purchasing a home. We're still seeing a shortage of housing inventory, primarily due to lowered seller confidence. Sellers aren't confident in selling their home because it's more expensive on the buying side. Yeah, I agree. It's all the same thing. People are just don't. Well, we're seeing a little bit of consumer confidence, but again, affordability is the issue. Because people need to make enough money on the sale of their home in order to move to the new expensive home. So when will home prices drop? Professor in finance economics, City University of New York, Queens. Home prices are expected to stabilize or even see modest declines in 2025, particularly in overheated markets. I've heard a lot about that in Austin, Texas. Affordability, however, will remain a challenge due to a combination of slow wage growth, still elevated mortgage rates. While prices may not risk dramatically, the affordability crisis will persist for many first-time home buyers, and even small rate increases have significant impact on monthly payments. Yeah, it's a lot of my folks that are okay are the ones that have equity selling their current home, but it's first-time home buyers that don't have that equity that are coming in and buying a home that is very, very tough. Overall, I see prices remaining strong with moderate appreciation. I don't think we're going to see the 10, 20% appreciation per year anytime soon. I hope not, but that's probably a good thing. Builders are still doing very well because they offer artificially low rates in many cases. And what they mean by artificially lower rates is meaning those incentives that they're using to buy down the rate. And it will help buyers feel more comfortable. This is true. In some markets, we'll see people lose money if they bought in the last couple of years and have to sell, and that is accurate. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. CareLogic Case-Shiller Price Index projects even higher price increases. However, I believe improving supply and rising inventory will moderate price growth overall. Price increases are expected to be less pronounced in southern states, that's us, where rising insurance costs and potential economic slowdowns linked to immigration challenges could ease price pressures. Currently, 30% of homes are selling above their list price. It seems like nationally, the home prices will continue to rise in 2025 rather than fall, mostly due to pent-up demand outpacing supply. Overall, we might see home prices increase between 3 and 3.5%. But it's important to remember that local markets will vary significantly in terms of price appreciation. So again, in our local market, specifically suburbs of Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, even Jacksonville and Duval, we have a lot of new construction. So our pricing will not appreciate that much this year. We're just starting to normalize our pricing. So I don't anticipate any major rises in increases in pricing, but I do think things will remain expensive here, unfortunately. But new construction incentives will still allow people to get in the market, kind of like my first-time new home buyer that got this locked in under 5% rate this week. That's an example. So, and the other thing that's protecting us here in Northeast Florida is we have some of the lowest insurance rates and cost of living than the rest of Florida. So again, we're an anomaly there. This is a great market here. So I'm not going to keep reading all this because I don't want to bore you anymore. Any more questions for tonight? What else do I have here? Should I share this one too? One more, and I won't bore you anymore, I promise. If you're enjoying this, let me know. Yes, answers it. You're welcome. All right. Yeah, let me just talk about this really quick. So one of the things that I was reading about, and I agree with it very much so, if you are, for instance, Brian, who's living in Nocatee and walking around here local, if you're local in the area and you are having to sell your home, if I sold a home in 21, 22, or 23, I would always tell people, look, if you're going to buy a home, specific areas, please don't call me in the next year or two to sell the home. I always recommend if you're building a new home and you're purchasing where there's lots of inventory coming into play because there's so much new construction, make sure whatever you buy, you're going to stay for a while. And of course, life happens. So if you bought in that market, I'm pleading to people and saying, hey, listen, if you can rent, I would suggest renting the home rather than selling it. Now, I'm a real estate broker, okay? I should say, hey, let's sell it. But no, every listing I've taken has been a challenge. And the number one thing, I love this, and I read it today, there's a lot of inventory. We're seeing homes sitting on the market 45, 60, 70 days, and they shouldn't be. But the thing is that people have not transitioned their expectations of what their house was worth back in 21. Their expectations have not come around yet on where pricing is here in 2024 and where it is going into 2025. So if the rates don't come down enough, people can't afford those high pricing anymore, like when they did at 3%. They just don't have the buying power. So people that are selling a home, you need to understand that you have to price your home properly. It is absolutely imperative. In some cases now, the market is so sensitive and is such a buyer's market that I recommend, and I would offer that service to you if you were to call me and say, hey, Greg, I'd like you to list my home. I'm offering services where I would say it's even smarter if you have an older home to get that inspection before you even list the home. And I would provide that for you like I do in my new builds for all my new builds people. I think it's imperative that when you list a home, it is properly listed. And the word I love about this is that the number one reason houses don't sell is they're not priced properly. And so somebody said today that buyers are looking for a deal. It is a buyer's market. And if your pricing is not compelling enough, they will not entertain your home as an opportunity because they have other options. Specifically in our market, if you have new construction in your area, even more so because the incentives are almost impossible to match. So it is imperative that when you list your home, you have a real estate professional that is going to prepare you, in some cases have an inspection, so that if you do have a buyer, you do not lose that deal because something goes wrong in the inspection that you were not prepared for. That you have your house properly priced where it is compelling based on your need to sell. When people ask me, what should I list my house at? I go, well, when do you need to move in? Are you a relocation? Do you need to be out of here in 30, 45 days? We just had one where it was a relocation and we sold the house. We got under contract in 7 days. We closed in 30 and we moved on. And I have like 2 or 3 of those experiences lately. But I've had some that have sat on the market long because they were not, the price was not compelling enough. The second thing that we've had to do is we've started having to not just digitally stage our housing, but I've actually had to stage one of our listings because it was vacant, just to show people what the rooms are being used for. So now we're having to stage properties as well. And of course, we're marketing it like crazy on social media. We're doing video, we're doing YouTube. So these are all the requirements now to get your house to stand out. Because again, in our market, if you're competing against new construction, even more so. So you need to have a good real estate professional behind you to guide you through that process. I was going to share more of these articles, 4 predictions for the U.S. market in 2025, according to Zillow, Bank of America's housing market, but I think I've gone over the hour. It's 9 o'clock. If you have any other questions, please go ahead and put in the comments. If you're watching this recording, also put in the comments. I will answer them. I even get some really negative comments lately on some of my videos, and I instead of getting like angry and or you know, argumentative, I really like to just stew and think about them. Like I did a video when I came back from Palm Springs. I did a video about you know, some of the things I wish I'd known about Jacksonville before I moved here. Some of the, you know, the titles are, you know, we do SEO. The titles are supposed to be catchy, right? So it's not like, hey, I regret moving to the area or whatnot. But I get some comments on those, and I'm like, good comments, but I try to really respond to them as productively as I can. Especially the person, you know who you are. I know he's been on here before, but it's like you do a new floor plan design or model tour and they go, that builder sucks. Well, you know what? I'm not getting mad at you because that builder, my brother is actually building with that builder, and I have customers building with that builder. But I'm doing a whole video. It's motivating me to do a whole video about my thoughts on builders, and an answer to that, a long-winded video on that answer to that response of that builder sucks. Because it's not about the builder, it's actually about the actual builder, not the name of the national builder, but the person that's actually building your home. But anyway, folks, it's end of the hour. I appreciate you guys watching. We've had quite a few viewers tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments. It really means a lot to me from the bottom of my heart. The more you guys show up, watch the videos, it creates value, the more I will continue to do them. I love this business. If you're thinking about moving to the area, of course, reach out to me. You can text me, call me, email me. My information will be in the description. If you're thinking about selling because you need to, give me a call. Even if you don't want to list it with me, I'd be more than glad to give you any of the information of what I think you should do, what you should price, if however way you're going to list it. So please reach out for me. That again, email, text, call. And especially if you're relocating the area, it's never too early. I always say 9, 90, 180 days. Start now. Get in touch with me. Let's begin that conversation. I always start off with a lot of questions so I can understand your needs and see if I can fulfill what you're looking for on such a big move. And I love being part of that process, especially in new construction, because it's really my opportunity to develop relationships with people. So if you're doing that, also reach out. I have a lot of specials that I'm doing right now where we have somebody that helps you with the design center and new construction. We also have somebody that we also take care of your pre-drywall inspections and your final inspections, which are imperative, not just to see what's wrong with your build, but also to have the historical data of your home, your new home construction. That's it, folks. My name is Greg DiTullio. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I wish you and your family well from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all you that have called me this year, and I've been able to serve you and your family. Me and my family are grateful. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you have sincerely have an amazing, healthy, happy Christmas and a great New Year. And I will see you next year on this live on Thursday nights. Have a good night.